Hello and welcome to the Building Podcast. Today we're looking at a common theme that we've explored on the Building Podcast, the availability and suitability of construction skills. We might be one of the oldest industries, yet construction still struggles to have the right people with the right skills available for our projects. The reasons for this are varied and various, but there can be little doubt that as an industry, we must solve this problem if we are to continue to build and maintain the infrastructure that supports our society. I'm delighted to welcome Sean Houlston to the Building Podcast to help us dissect these issues. Sean is the Head of Membership and Digital Services for the National Federation of Builders, and he's been researching this area for his members. Sean, good afternoon and welcome to the Building Podcast.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Looking forward to this subject. It's one that we've covered a few times in different areas, but I think your perspective is going to be really interesting. So let me ask you first, just to sort of introduce yourself a bit more and talk a little bit about the NFB before we start tackling some of these issues. Then it'll allow people to understand why you're the man for the job.
Great. So I think I'll start by going a bit about the NFB and who we are, and then I'll talk about my role within it and a bit about my background. And so to give you an introduction, the National Federation of Builders is one of the foremost professional associations of builders, contractors and house builders. And we serve members with unrivaled services, standards and advocacy across the United Kingdom. And really, the bit that I always get across to people, and sometimes people wonder what it means, is we're building the future of construction. And what that means is that we are driving forward high standards. So members who join us have to meet certain criteria. They have to operate in responsible and really high quality ways. We advocate on behalf of the sector. So we are the voice of contractors and the construction sector in government, in Parliament, and across the many different public bodies and boards and committees, and I'm sure we'll come on to that down the line today. We act as a voice, a collective voice of our members on all of those different bodies. And then, like I say, services. We are there to serve and support our members. So we give advice lines, technical support. We have Ask NFB, which is a fantastic digital platform which we launched last year, which is home to a number of different guidance documents, templates, policies, really a lot of different things that our members would spend either hours and hours designing and crafting themselves, and then still have questions on whether it was entirely fit for purpose, or they would find something on Google which might not be 100% correct, or someone might have just pulled it together in their spare time. What Ask NFB is expert approved documents and things for our members to get hold of. So
brilliant. Do skills come up on Ask NFB and some of all those services? I mean, clearly it's a challenge for the industry as a whole. And so is the National Federation of Builders answering and responding to a lot of the skills challenges to its members?
I think so. I think we're doing a lot right now with leadership and management, specifically in the construction sector. So we're currently working with members to develop a leadership diploma, which will have quite real world examples of how leadership looks like in the construction sector. Because you can go on all these different courses that you can get for any sector, and you can spend quite a bit of money on these really sort of glossy and high-level digital training courses, but actually what do you learn that's relevant to the sector that we all operate in? So where we're trying to work right now is just by developing training that is specific for our members and actually useful, not just generic platitudes that they can come back and deliver a few quotes to a board meeting. The stuff that we're working on is actually real. That's how I see it anyway.
Brilliant. And just to finish a little bit on you then, Sean, I understand you're a governor of a college as well. So, you've got a foot in both camps, if you like.
I have, yeah. I have. I was saying this to someone the other day. I've got a bit of I've got quite a few roles that I do because you've never got enough time in the day, have you? So it's a few different things I do. So I'm a college governor for a fantastic college called Reese Heath in Cheshire, and it's an agricultural specialist college which offers a really fantastic construction department as well. And it's actually one of the biggest construction departments in the UK, if not the biggest, but you'd have to let me check on that.
I think there's lots of people who compete for that for you.
So it's a fantastic college, and I sit on their newly created curriculum skills and stakeholders committee. So it's what we're doing in this group is we're trying to really develop the curriculum that's been offered in all different aspects of the college to make sure that it's A, in line with what the employers want, and B, is actually giving our learners the skills to succeed in either business or in any line of work, really. So we're doing a lot there. But yeah, I'm a governor of that college. I've been head of membership and digital services at the NFB for a few months now. Joined the NFB in 2023, I think it was, and I started off. I sort of transitioned into construction after leaving Parliament, where I worked for a member of Parliament and government minister, advising them on a number of issues. But one of the things that we worked on quite specifically was opportunities for young people, skills. So making sure that particularly young people were skilled coming out of college, secondary education, tertiary education, all of that. Again, it's that sort of 0 to 5 years of life as well, that development that happens there. It's something that I'm interested in, not so much that I work on in the NFB role, but definitely something that I tend to focus on. It's that early years development.
Brilliant. Okay, well let's get into some of the meat of the subjects, because I think you've proved your competence to be answering the questions. So let's have a few questions then. So let's start off just on a high level question and the need for skills within the industry. So do you want to just talk around about why it's important to have a high level of skills within construction and the sort of numbers that we might be short of as a sector?
Yeah, so in fact, this morning I, preparing for this podcast, was reading the CITB apprenticeships reports, and they've refreshed it, I think specifically for National Apprenticeship Week, which was last week. And one of the most interesting graphics that come out of this is it's a bit of a chart that shows it's got a bunch of arrows and shows where people are heading in the construction sector. And you've got a chart on the right that shows the gap that we have from where the number of people in construction we currently have and where we need to be. And there's a gap of about 58,000 a year. And then, 50,000 a year. And then you've got the arrows coming in, and there's a few arrows that fling off into the ether. And those arrows show people who have studied either apprenticeships or further education. And it shows that there are about 58,000 people who are leaving the sector between getting their qualification or not even getting their qualification, starting their qualification and getting into construction employment. So you've got this gap here per year where you've got 58,000 people leaving. You've then got another 50,000 people that we're just missing if we want to meet our obligations right now with all the projects that are coming not just from the public sector, from the private sector as well. We need to find a way to get those people who are leaving the system and fill the gap on the other side. So I would recommend everyone go and find that report and actually look at that graph, because it sums up the problem that we have massively right now.
Yeah, and that's the CITB report, is it, you're referring to there?
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're looking sort of around about 50,000 people a year to come into the sector, and that includes people who are leaving. That's to replace people who are leaving, and it's to include the growth in volume of turnover that we're expecting, isn't it? So there's two problems we've got: people leaving and a growing workload.
Completely, yeah. You've got an aging population. I think the rough figure is about 35% of construction workers are aged 50 and above. So you've got 60 and above. You've got an incredibly aging workforce that is only going to get older. You haven't got the people coming in to fill those gaps. Combine that with the high pressure you've got policy-wise with the government's 1.5 million house building target. You've got the infrastructure projects which are coming as well. Like I say, you've got a government drive for infrastructure, and you've also got a lot more private sector commercial work that is coming. So yeah, you've got this high demand, and you've got the fact that the workforce is only going to get older. So you are stretching the people in between. So either they're going to have to I don't know, work endless days and nights to fill the gap, or they're going to have to increase their productivity. And how do we do that? Do we have the digital technology right now to innovate and create a more productive workforce? I don't know. I think we're close. We're getting there, but there is no silver bullet right now, apart from we need to get more people into the industry.
Yeah. And you talk about productivity. It's a key point for skills, because if a 1% increase in productivity is a massive reduction in the people we need. And we've talked around about productivity on this podcast many times as well. And I think there's lots of levers that are beginning to help, digital just being one of them, which are going to improve the productivity. But it doesn't get over the challenge we've got of an aging workforce and needing the right skills to be able to mobilise that knowledge around productivity. So it's quite a challenge on both of them. Do you want to just sort of say what happens to our clients of the industry if we don't get these skills in? What do they experience if we have a low skill base or not enough people?
So I think one of the problems is quality. I think that you see not only the demand from clients right now is to have high quality projects that meet not only quality standards but also health and safety standards as well. You've got clients demanding more and more from their contractors. And what it means by having a lack of skills is that effectively quality is going to go down. The speed at which your projects are going to be completed will go down because the workforce isn't there to work on it in a timely manner. And also the cost could potentially go up because it's basic economics, isn't it? You've got if you've got less people able to offer a service, that service becomes more valuable, and the risk is then for clients that you end up paying more. It's that triangle, isn't it? Of if you want it done fast, it's not going to be cheap. If you want it done cheap, it's not going to be good. If you want it done good, it's not going to be fast. It's that sort of triangle, isn't it? And I think that applies to the construction sector more and more as we find that the number of skilled people in the sector diminishes. So yeah, I think for clients, it's a serious issue that they need to really understand and just get a grip of before they start raising any concerns, really.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a desperate shortage of people. We've talked around recovering some of these 58,000 that never make it from college into the industry. Do you think we ought to be looking elsewhere as well, in addition to those 50,000? Where else should we be looking to find these people? And sort of how do we make sure that they do have the right skills when they come into the sector? Because one of the challenges we have is that we've got a fast-moving sector. Things are changing within the sector. And there's a growing gulf between education and employment. So perhaps let's tackle the first question first, is where do we think these people are going to come from? And then perhaps we'll look at how we might ensure they've got the right skills.
That's an interesting one, because I think right now the people see there's only two ways really of getting them. It's either apprenticeships and vocational training through colleges, that route. There's also the retraining of existing people who may not operate directly in the construction sector, but we need to get them trained up, and they may have a few transferable skills that they can apply to the construction as well. I think as well, one area where people are reluctant to talk about is immigration. I think that obviously post-Brexit, the immigration rules have changed, and the policy has been to focus more on homegrown talent to work on projects. And rightly or wrongly, it's just not working in its current form. We are not getting the level and the pace of homegrown talent being developed as quickly as we should. And if you look at some of the initiatives which the government have put forward, the home building hubs, so that's it's over 30 specifically created home building hubs, which will be, I know the CITB are doing a lot of work on this. They've been designed by someone in an office in Westminster specifically to address these issues. But actually, in reality, you look at the type of skills and quality of craftsmanship which is going to be coming out of these hubs, and you've got to ask the question, is it going to be to the same level as someone who has spent maybe 1 or 2 years on an apprenticeship, or someone who alternatively has lived in Europe and has worked in construction all their lives and wants to come over here but can't because of the immigration rules. So I look at these initiatives and some of these short-term solutions which are coming forward, and I think there's a serious risk there that the quality of craftsmanship is going to be quite low. So I suppose to answer your question, Mark, you've got your existing vocational routes, which are clearly not working because you've got this arrow flinging out of them.
I think there's lots we could do on that, but that's a different question.
And then you've got the other areas as well. So there's lots of different pots, but it's trying to coordinate them and get a clear flow of people into the sector.
Yeah, and I suppose we ought to say that there's a lot of work being done to get the underrepresented groups, and particularly women, into the industry. And that's my own personal views. If we can get more of these people into the sector, it's going to make the sector far more efficient and effective, and we'll get a far better diversity of leadership and delivery, which can only be a benefit to the challenges we're currently facing.
And on that, only 15% of construction workers are women, and only 6% of construction workers are from diverse ethnic backgrounds. So I think from a purely commercial point of view, we are excluding a big chunk of the workforce from being able to come into our sector. And the reality just has to be, if we want to survive as an industry, we need to be recruiting more people in and just making our sector more sustainable. We are too reliant, this is just a fact, but too reliant on men coming in and working in construction. We need to be looking at all the different areas where we can recruit from.
Yeah. Hallelujah to that. Let's see if we can find some answers. So come on to the second part of the question then, Sean. How can we make sure that people coming out of, particularly out of the FE sector, where we've both got some experience, or as university sector in general, how do we make sure they've got the right skills that the industry needs?
So I think the training bodies, the universities, the colleges, the training providers need to engage with employers on actually what they want out of their workforce, which is coming down. And part of, and the people at Research College will know that I always say, there's always bang the drum, is that we need quality and meaningful employer engagement, not just another task force or committee or board for someone to sit on. My mantra of this is that if you took an employer and you said, right, well, you've got this committee with the local skills industry partnership, you've got this committee with the Chamber of Commerce, you've got this committee and task force here with the what was the local enterprise partnerships and is now sort of not, but still is. You've got all these different bodies out there. And if an employer sat on every single one and said the same thing, they would have no time to do the work that actually made them money. Yeah. So you've got to be really, as training providers, you've got to be really conscious of the amount of time it takes out of a business person's day to come and engage with the development of your courses. So that's one thing that the training providers need to do. I think for the employers, though, we need to do more sort of reflection on what our current labour market looks like, what our people coming in to the sector, what skills do they have? Have we developed a training matrix where we can map and plot the technical skills, but also the soft skills which young people or anyone coming into our business has? And then if you've got that recorded, condense it, send it over to your local college, engage with someone there, build a contact. A single person point of contact is absolutely fine, as long as you're speaking to someone at those institutions. And something that Reese Heath does really well, they have a business engagement team. They've just expanded by recruiting account managers. So these account managers are there to deal specifically with businesses who may have apprentices that are doing their studies at the college, or they're doing sort of business engagement, trying to understand what businesses are thinking. They've got single points of contact, not a committee, not a task force. It's people who they can pick up the phone, raise an issue with, ping an email across to, and then they will disseminate it within the colleges. And I think more quality and meaningful engagement just has to come from our employers, and the colleges and training providers have to be more receptive to that as well, and just more conscious about the demands of all the demands of these bodies and groups have.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the FE sector now is measured by Ofsted on their engagement with employers, so it is part of the Ofsted inspection. It gauges the amount of employer engagement that they have and scores them on it. I think one of the challenges I've experienced in the FE sector is that the employers are generally not that good at identifying the skills that they're going to need in the future. They're sitting in those rooms saying, well, this is what I need to fill today. And then they're looking at young people to come and fill those skills today with the skills they need today. And as a college, we've got the responsibility of giving people the skills for a career, a lifetime in the sector. And I do worry that the industry is not very good at looking forward at the sort of skills they're going to need, and recognizing they could come from new students coming into the sector. Is that a common problem?
I think so. And I think, well, firstly, I would say to you, that's where trade bodies like the NFB come in. And we're there to give that foresight really to contractors and to our members to say, here's what you need to look out for in 5, 10, 20 years time. Here's what's coming down the line. And personally, this is something I'm quite interested in with the future of construction right now. And we've recently launched our AI handbook for contractors. So that's where we are taking an emerging technology like AI. We're understanding it, learning about it on behalf of our members, and then producing clear and simple guidance which our contractor members can sign up to. So thank you for the plug there, Mark. But I think where the problem is right now is that the sector has not got the bandwidth to be able to look in the future. We've got so many problems that are in front of us right now that we cannot sit down and think, well, let's think in 10 years' time, what AI technologies am I going to have? Thinking about that, if you've got clear vacancies and you're trying to fulfill your next projects and you're trying to put tenders in right now, you just can't look that far into the future. And then if you're not looking that far into the future, you don't know who you need to recruit. So you are not bringing in people who potentially may not have the understanding about the future of construction in general. And then if you look at it from a training provider point of view, there's a real problem right now with recruiting trainers and lecturers in colleges. So you're getting people who have left the sector. They are not working in business anymore because they're doing their lecturing full time. Yeah. They are not seeing the real developments that are coming down unless they are actively engaged and do the research themselves. New technologies are not as likely to be taught in colleges as they would do as you would learn about them if you were on site and actually embracing them. So you've got a real problem right now where colleges are not able to keep up with the emerging technology in the sector. The sector isn't able to keep up because you've just got such demands and pressure right now. So yeah, again, it comes down to the collective membership of trade bodies to tell me and the team at the NFB what they want us to do, and then we will do that and deliver on behalf of our membership.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that we're doing at Malton College is that we're encouraging our lecturers to go out as part of the registered CPD to go out and see employers in their field, in their field of expertise, and spend a day or two with them to understand how their workplaces are changing and what's expected. Because you talk briefly about soft skills, and they're becoming increasingly important. And partly because we're now employing the COVID generation as they've come through and actually missing some of those soft skills or not quite so well developed. But they're an absolute crucial key to any successful employment, and that's one of the other challenges we've got. Let's move on a bit, Sean, just because I know we in the construction industry have something called the Construction Industry Training Board, which for those that are just hope for skills to turn up on their doorstep, point out and say, we pay a levy, you're the training board, where are these people with the right skills? And those of us with a few longer teeth and a bit more experience know that we have to work with quite closely. Do you want to just talk about the role of the CITB within the industry?
Yeah, I suppose. So firstly, the NFB works quite close with the CITB, and we have a good relationship with people who work there and really support us to deliver for our members. So one of the things the CITB is responsible for is the workforce skills development in general. So they are there to set the standards, coordinate training opportunities, provide opportunities again for that engagement between employers and the training providers to make sure that what is being taught and trained to new entrants to the sector is actually relevant to our contractors. They do a lot of funding and support, and a lot of funding and different pots of money are there for people to take hold of. I know one of our members, Interclass, are doing a project right now on neurodiversity training in construction. They're running that. That's had some really good take up from contractors who are looking to learn more about how their managers and their colleagues can understand the different sort of neurodiverse conditions someone may have, and make adaptations to support them in their workplace. And that's a bit of work that's been led by Sarah Barnes right now, which is just fantastic. And it's one of the things that have been developed in partnership with our members and businesses, that is actually full of information which they appreciate and need and use. So it's not something that's just been plucked out of thin air and popped onto a plate. And that was delivered using CITB funding. So there's a lot of different funds there that can be taken advantage of. And then also I know the CITB do a lot with health and safety training as well, and safety and standards, and really ensuring that people are clued up on the basics of site safety. So they do quite a bit. The NFB has some concerns. I mean, if you want me to go into some of the
we'll cover that separately. But I suppose really, what one of the things, I think the key points I think we have to make is that the CITB does a lot of work in all sorts of areas, but at the end of the day, they're not responsible for putting people on our books for doing the jobs. If we want people in our industry, we have to go out and do something about it. If we want to make sure they've got the right qualifications and the right standards, they need to involve themselves in something like you've just described, your employer groups, to make sure that they're delivering correctly. Because the CITB can't be everywhere, and as you said, they do a lot of good stuff, but they're not responsible for delivering everything. And I think that's one of the key lessons which our industry is probably not very good at. I mean, certainly in terms of my involvement in the energy sector, energy companies there just get on and do stuff. They don't have a CITB to point out and say, well, why haven't you done it? They know that they're masters of their own destiny, or not masters at all. And that's something I think we do well to learn and relearn back in construction. Let me just move on a little bit then, because I think we're both interested in what the skills are going to be in the future. We're trying to bring people in for careers and not just jobs within our sector. And how do you think that provision is likely to change in sort of the various areas like vocational or lifelong learning or university skills? Where do you see the biggest changes happening?
I think we're seeing some changes right now. So T levels are currently being reformed. The on-site construction T level is being defunded. Something that I do see as a risk. I think that now more than ever, as we are trying to promote more people to come into the sector, we shouldn't be closing off doors which someone may feel is more relevant to them. There are concerns about T levels as a whole and whether they actually are training people up with real hands-on vocational skills to work in construction as a sector. But I think that on the whole, in balance, purely because of the workforce issues and the pressures we have right now, we need to make it as open and flexible as possible to get people into the sector. So that's one of the changes I see coming down right now is the risk of defunding certain courses in the whole. I think as well, what you might see in vocational skills is the encouragement of social mobility within apprenticeships. So that is bringing people from backgrounds who might not have seen apprenticeships as being something for them, and ensuring that they are going to study them, and then they are developing themselves professionally, economically, and basically get better off by doing them. And that's something I don't think we do enough of in apprenticeships, is show that they are the best balance of the academic qualification by you going and studying and you getting the best knowledge from good quality colleges, but also the real hands-on experience as well. And they're the best combination of both. So if you come from a lesser economically developed background, a more deprived background, I think apprenticeships are the best way for you to get up that ladder and get into those high.
They are undoubtedly still the gold standard of education, aren't they? I mean, that 3 years. If you can get a level 3, then it is a gold standard for a career in your chosen subject, and that's still the case, which is it's a fantastic reputation to have. And there are many people running businesses who started off with that apprenticeship qualification.
Yeah. Exactly. Or even something that wasn't quite badged up as an apprenticeship historically, that still was an apprenticeship. It is that combination really of the academic with the hands-on, so you get the technical knowledge and the real life knowledge as well. And another thing in the vocational area, something that my college is specifically focused on, is being work ready, career ready, and it's all those skills, I think, in the vocational setting, where it's not just that hands-on knowledge, it's knowing how to communicate internally with your colleagues, knowing how to email them, knowing how to work collaboratively as a team as well, where we are seeing right now, and I don't have any stats to back it up, but I can tell you, I'm sure many of your listeners would have seen this as well, but young people are coming into the sector right now who can't write emails. They don't know how to write emails at all. They really struggle with using a computer, and I think because the technology that we're seeing is more of is your phones, is iPads, and a lot of people lack that basic computer skills, which if you're working in any sector, let alone construction, you need to know how to work a Windows laptop PC, send an email across.
The corollary of that, Sean, is that we're saying that it's old technology and we need to move with the times, and we need to move on to off an email platform and onto some other platform that people are more familiar with and allows for faster communication. Now, I'm not there yet because the accuracy and it isn't there, and some of the other governance structures aren't there that we need around communication. But I do think we are in danger of, if you're saying that's not the way forward, you've got to come backwards to go forwards. I do worry that that's not an appropriate response to young people today.
I don't know, Mark. I think that the reality of where we are now and where we'll probably be for the next 5 to 10 years is that email is still going to be, email, PCs, they're still going to be around, because I think while you've got AI and different softwares existing and developing quite quickly on sort of the peripheries right now that aren't exactly mainstream, the mainstream technologies are still your spreadsheets, your Word documents, your PDFs to send invoices. They are the mainstream, and they're so vastly adopted by the sector. I think where we might find an issue in the next 10 years, and this probably goes against, but I'm saying the next 10 years, and it probably goes against a lot of what you'll hear on social media, and a lot of people will say, oh, well, AI is going to take your job tomorrow. And I think it's not. It's really not. I think we've got to be ready for it. So there are some skills which we need to learn in addition to the basic sort of soft digital skills, like it's how to interpret data properly, and how to make sure that you've got your AI system, how to make sure your data is cleansed and sorted and organized properly, so that when it goes into the system, you get high quality outcomes and output coming out of it. We need to know how to prompt. We need to know how to speak logically to a computer system that won't be able to interpret all the little intricacies and little sort of, I suppose, platitudes that we'll talk like. And we need to be able to understand how to speak to the computers that we're going to be seeing in the next decade or so. So I suppose what I'm saying there is we probably should make sure that our learners are ready to use basic information technology now, but we should also be teaching them the building blocks that allow them to quickly learn and adapt to future technologies like AI and machine learning and software's coming down the line.
Yes, I mean, I think you made a couple of good points there, Sean. I mean, we look at in our employment, we're saying there will be those that work with AI. They'll be doing, if you take your college, for instance, there will be lecturers that work with AI, and there won't be any other lecturers at all. So if you don't work with AI as a lecturer, you can't be a lecturer. And that'll be the same for bricklayers and plumbers and plasterers and everything else. You'll need to know how to have the skills to make it work. Yeah. But I think you're right. I mean, the other things we tell our students, and we need to teach them to be human. Computers are very good at doing computer jobs. Let's make sure humans are good at doing human jobs, like team building and all those other things. Just before we leave the changing provision, though, do you have a view on lifelong learning? Because the world's changing quite quickly, and the traditional approach, you do an apprenticeship or do an exam, do a degree, and then you're set for life, is been and gone a long time ago. Do you see how the industry is going to overcome that particular challenge?
Yeah, I do. And I think you're absolutely right there, is that people are now expected in any profession to complete short courses online or do micro credentials, as they're called now. And it's so interesting to see that every time I go onto social media, I'm always getting advertisements for what do they call it, masterclass. Have you seen this? It's these short 10-15 minute or so videos from some celebrity who's got a lot of time on their hands to talk about something that they can train someone up on. And I think we're seeing more and more commercialized micro credentials and courses. Some of them are accredited, some of them aren't accredited. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I'm sure we can come on to that. But there is an abundance right now of these courses, and I think it comes from, it's definitely a post-COVID thing where people are so ready to learn more and realize that there is more they need to do if they want to progress in their career. And I think that comes again from that rate of pace of change of technology and modernization of technology that we're seeing. So I think we're definitely seeing a shift towards modular learning and short courses. And I think employers need to consider what their role is in facilitating that for their employees as well. Do they allow their employees to spend an hour a week on CPD? You've got some employers who are doing a fantastic job in setting the standard for ensuring their team have blocked out time to do CPD, and that should definitely be the case. But I suppose if you're a smaller contractor, where do you find the time to do that?
As you know, Sean, we're going to get pushed into it anyway, aren't we? I mean, it's, as an industry, we've got the Building Safety Act, which we're playing catch up on, came into April last year, and requires every employer to be able to demonstrate the competence of their employees, whether they're on site or in the design office or anywhere else. And if you can't, we can do that with some form of work experience, but actually to qualifications, all those micro credentials, which we talked about, would be the obvious way of solving that particular problem. Whether you're an SME or a one-man band or a multinational, you're still going to be exposed to the same legislation.
Exactly. And you mentioned the Building Safety Act there, and one of the I suppose the frameworks for proving competency within the Building Safety Act is SCEB, isn't it? It's skills, knowledge, experience, behaviours. And I suppose by doing this continuous learning CPD, you're definitely building up the skills and knowledge aspects of being able to prove that competency. So the short courses, lifelong learning through these modular courses is definitely the way to the way to go as well. And it's interesting, when I was looking into this the other day, this is also something which the government are supporting as well through something called the lifelong learning entitlement. So it's not set to come into place till January 2027, but coupled up with some of the new initiatives you're seeing, like Skills England and some of the modernisation which the CITB are doing, I think they are realistic to the fact that in order to succeed in the construction sector, you need to be continuously professionally developing more now than ever before.
Well, that brings me neatly on to the new skills that might be needed. And we've talked around about the technology skills. What we haven't touched on for our industry is either the green skills that might be required as the industry has to decarbonise its events, and possibly as we get carbon accounting coming in, and also trying to reinforce the soft skills that we've said already in short supply coming out of university and colleges. Do you think we can cover those by micro qualifications or credentials?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I suppose with the sort of retrofit, for example, and the targets that are currently on domestic properties with their EPC targets, you've got an industry that does need hands-on professional experience in order to do a lot of the work that's out there. So I don't know, should we send our workforce back to college to learn the hands-on work? I don't think so. I don't think we've got the time to do that. We definitely haven't got the capacity. But
there's a statutory requirement, Sean. How am I going to demonstrate my employees are competent?
Exactly. I suppose we're at the catch-22 right now, aren't we? Where it's that sort of cycle of, unless we get the people in to build the capacity of the sector, how do we free up the time which is legally expected, statutorily expected from us to really develop on? It's a tough one. It is a tough one, but I think
I don't think it's very tough at all. I think generally statute trumps everything.
Of course it does.
If the law says that's what that's where you start.
You are right.
It's very straightforward. Go on, then, Sean. I'm aware of time at the moment, and I know we've had a good canter through all sorts of areas of training and skills. You're relatively new into the industry compared to me, been through scars to prove it. You've got a foot in both camps. You're talking to members up and down the country, contractors up and down the country. We've got a relatively new government in post. If you got your magic wand out, what would sort of the two or three things you might like to see the industry or the government do? And it's not. I mean, the great thing about training is actually most of it is down to industry to do rather than anybody else. But what would your top three priorities for solving problems today be?
I suppose that the government really, if the government was to do anything, it would to just step back a bit and let the businesses currently in construction do a lot more of the coordination and training themselves. I think you've got these bodies like the CITB, you've got the levy system, you've got different taxes, you've got the CITB levy, you've got the apprenticeship levy, you've got lots of different taxes and levies out there. I think what the government should do is just step back or even reflect right now on what their role is. Is it purely to collect money and then redistribute it, or is it actually to drive up standards? And can you, as a a government agency, a government body? Can you drive up standards without collecting vast sums of money to then spend in ways that you deem fit? Or should you set the standards first and then provide tax incentives to the businesses to deliver against those training standards? So I suppose one thing that I would be keen to see is and it's a bit of a scary word, really, but deregulation of the construction skills market slightly right now to free up businesses to deliver against set standards rather than paying vast sums into an industry training board, for example.
But we're seeing that anyway, aren't we? We've got maths and English, which is now going to be removed off apprenticeships for older people. We've got the deregulation, the apprentice levy coming through, that we're going to be able to spend that money on a far broader range of things. So perhaps some of that's happening or is being talked about happening. I can't say it's happened yet, but there is proposals in both those areas.
So you've hit the nail on the head there with the reduction, the changing of English and maths qualification need to pass your apprenticeship, but also you've got the reduction in the duration of apprenticeships as well. I
might have a challenge on that one, but that's
well, I think I've got a challenge on it, really. I think the risk is that you've got the system, the college system, the FE system, which is built up to deliver apprenticeships that are year long. They've got a lot of fixed costs. For example, that the business engagement team that I spoke about before, a lot of facilities are there, a lot of lecturers are paid purely on the assumption that these apprenticeships will be 12 months long. And the fact is that for these 6-month or 8-month courses, you're not going to get a full year's worth of funding. The government has made that abundantly clear. They're going to reduce the amount of funding that goes to colleges for them. So the risk is then that you may have people, rather than completing the 12-month apprenticeships, they'll complete a condensed one. We've already got an issue with recruiting lecturers, delivering and building facilities in colleges that are adequate for a decent construction starting career. I'm concerned a little bit about the funding of these 8 months, these condensed apprenticeships. I don't know. I don't have an answer right now for you, but I do think that we just need to look again about how we can actually make them worth time for the colleges as well as the employers.
Well, they have to, and certainly colleges need funding properly because they've been the Cinderellas of the educational system for a long time.
Exactly, especially specialist colleges as well.
Absolutely. So that was government. Anything for the employers to do, or do you think the employers are doing everything they ought to be doing?
I think it comes back to what I say as well. The employers need to engage with the training providers and just tell them where the gaps are. Just be open and realistic. You don't have to sit on all these committees. You don't have to sit on all the different boards that are out there, because if you say you'll sit on one of them, there'll be another person on those boards that'll say, come and sit on my board and my task force as well. And everyone's got their own little committees then. I think just find someone at your college, your local college, your local training provider where your stream of people are coming from, and tell them what you're finding. Be open about some of the challenges, talk about some of the opportunities that you see in the sector as well, or even your part of your subsector, and where can, for example, construction departments deliver in the renewables subsector that we're facing right now, which is booming. So as employers, it's a case of just find your college, love your local college, and tell them strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Just be realistic with them.
Yeah. Sean, thank you very much indeed for your time today. I think we've had some great wisdom about what we need to do in the sector and how the industry can tackle some of the skills, both skills availability, but also quality. And wish you every luck with your members. But thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mark. It's been great. Thank you.